In this lesson, we will begin our basic data transformation process where we are going to learn how to remove unwanted columns, remove null values, check and change data type. In the previous lessons, we saw how to work with Power Query Editor and the design view. So if you've been following along with me from the previous lessons, close your Power BI desktop and reopen it. If it asks you to save changes, just ignore. In this lesson, we will learn how to save our work. But before we begin, I want to ensure that your Power BI desktop has the same settings with mine, so you won't miss anything. So to do that, click on File, okay? Click on File menu. Click on Options and Settings. Click on Options. Okay, under this Options dialog box, then global, click on Data Load. Okay, we have here Type Detection. Okay, now click on Never Detect Column Types and Headers for Unstructured sources. The point here is this: we don't want Power BI to automatically detect data type for us and also change our columns. We want to do that manually. I want to show you how to do that manually, just in case you come across a situation whereby this settings is not already set. So currently, if it is on Always Detect Column Types, remove it and then click on Never Detect Column Types. Then click on OK. So to bring in data into Power BI Desktop, you click on Get Data icon. Get Data icon is under the Home menu. So click on Get Data. Now click on Excel Workbook. Power BI has a lot of data sources which you can connect to. All right, we have Power BI Data Flows, Power BI Dataset, Dataverse, SQL Server. You can connect to even text or CSV file. You can even click on more to see more data sources. So for now, we want to connect to Excel Workbook. So click on Excel Workbook. So this will open this dialog box for you to navigate to where you save your training resources folder. I recommend that you download your training resources folder from the portal and then save it on desktop so you can easily navigate to it. So I am currently on desktop. Double click on Training Resources, Practice Dataset, and click on AdventureWorks Database. Once you do that, click on Open. So Power BI will show us all the data set we have under the AdventureWorks database. Now let me show you something. Let's open that folder on the desktop, Training Resources Dataset. So let me double click on AdventureWorks database. Let's wait for it to open. Okay, so these are all the data that we have. We have the product inventory, inventory cells, territory cells, and all that. Now, these files are saved as Excel sheets. Okay, Excel sheet. We have workbook in Excel. We have individual pages are saved as sheets. So that is why you have all these data set here. So click on branch, click on budget, click on budget period. Just check all this. Okay, check all of this like this. You want to see how to transform them. Okay, now don't check this, don't select this, the product. You don't want this to be selected. Now notice something. Power BI shows you a preview of your data. We have column 1, column 2, column 3. Now the reason why we have this is because we configure Power BI to not remove all these unwanted columns, because we want to learn how to do it ourselves. So let's come down here. We have these buttons: Load, Transform Data. If you click on Load, then it is therefore assumed that this data is clean. You don't want to clean it. You are sure that the data is perfect for what you want to do. I recommend my students not to load data directly, but to always transform this data. So click on Transform Data. When you click on Transform Data, Power BI will automatically load this data into Power Query environment where we can transform the data the way we want. So let's go to product inventory, right? So let's click on product inventory, or let's click on inventory cells. All right, so let's first begin transforming this data. Now, looking at this data, what type of transformation do you think this data needs right now? As you can see, we have column 1, column 2, column 3. These columns are not descriptive. Okay, we want to ensure that we remove all these columns and make the column to be descriptive. That's the first thing we need to do. Okay, also look at what we have here. We have all these null values. You cannot do computation with null values, right? So we need to remove all these null values. To do that, first let's remove these null values. Ctrl A on your keyboard to select all this data. Let me do it again. I click on inventory cells, so I'm currently on inventory cells, and then on the keyboard I press Ctrl A to select all the data. Now see what I want to do. Under home, click on remove rows. Remove rows. Okay, now these are all the options we have. We want to remove blank rows, so click on remove blank rows. Okay, now we still have 2 blank rows remaining. Let's do the step again. This time around, click on remove rows again, and then click on remove top rows. Remove top rows. So here we need to specify the row number which we want to remove. Look at it here. We have row number 1 is null. Row number 2 is null. So if we enter 2 here, we are telling Power BI to remove the first and the second null rows that we have here. So having done that, click on OK. So as you can see, Power BI has removed those null values. Now this is one of the transformation techniques which you will be doing when you bring in your data into Power Query. The next transformation we need to do is to remove all these columns that are not descriptive, like we don't know what column 1 stands for. If you look below, you're going to see the actual column name. This one is order date, due date, order number. So we need to remove all these top columns, and then ensure that we bring in the normal column as we have here. So to do that, take a look at this icon, this calendar icon here, right? So click on it. When you click on it, click on use first row as headers. Click on use first rows as headers. So look at what we have here. Now we have descriptive columns name. These are the transformation you will be doing on your data. Okay, now let's do another thing. All this data has their own different types. Take a look at it. We have dates here. Okay, now if you look at the data type icon here, we have ABC 1, 2, 3. ABC 1, 2, 3. What this is telling you that is a mixture of string and integer. It's a combination of string and integer. Okay, so when you have something like this, okay, Power BI cannot know whether this data is an integer data or it's a string data. So what we have to do is to tell Power BI to automatically detect the data type that we have. So Power BI will use the value to know the type of data it should be. So to do that, Ctrl A on your keyboard again to select all the records, and then click on transform. Click on transform, then click on detect data type. So what happened? Power BI has used the values of this data to detect the type. Take a look at it this way. If you look at the icon close to this column name, order date, you see a calendar icon. Calendar icons represent date data type. So we have calendar icon here. We have 1, 2, 3. When you see 1, 2, 3, it is telling you that this data is an integer data, right? Or it's a whole number. When you see 1, 2, 3, this is 1, 2, 3. ABC tells you that this data is a string data. So these are the transformation you can always do to your data. Also, you can change the column data type individually by right-clicking on the column and then clicking on change type. So here, currently it is on date type, so you can change it to any type that you want. Before we end this lesson, I want to show you something. Like I said in the previous lesson, Power BI Power Query rather cannot undo changes. So you can't do Ctrl Z to undo changes. So whatever you do, Power BI keeps that as a lock. For instance, look at what we have here. The last thing we did was to change data type. So if you make, these are all the things we've done so far. We removed blank rows, we removed top rows, we promoted headers, and then the last thing we did is change type. So if you make any mistake, you can go one step backward. For instance, let's say for instance I made a mistake in auto detecting data type. I can click on this X icon. Okay, when I click on it, what happened? Power BI previously had detected the data type for us, and then before we saw our calendar icon here telling you that this data is a date data type. So now, since we have moved one step backward, Power BI has reverted what we did. Okay, so let's do it again. Ctrl A on the keyboard, and then under transform, you click on detect data type. So Power BI has automatically detected the data type for us. So you can, if you make mistake, you can always come to apply steps here to kind of remove or revert back your data to the way it was. Okay, now once you're done with your transformation, what you're going to do is to come to home and then click on close and apply. When you click on close and apply, Power BI will automatically save the changes you've done and then load this data into the design view, meaning that you are ready to create reports and create dashboard for your analysis. So that is all there is to it. In the next lesson, we are going to look on how to carry out more transformation on our data. See you then.